down in a panic, we're in over a head.
Again, we know this is what we're meant to do. So we wake up, put our feet on the floor, go and conquer the day like a warrior, like warriors. Cause that's what a tribe does. We got your back so you can relax and focus on all the important stuff, like getting your business done. This is our tribe. We look out for each other. That's right, that's right. This is our tribe. We help each other grow in business and life. That's right, that's right. No need to panic anymore. We got lots of support and an army of warriors by our side. We fight the good fight when we unite. The good fight. Focus on that.
Good afternoon, evening, everybody. Welcome to your coffee shop conversation show, your weekly dose of business inspiration and discussion from all around the world. And that's going to be fairly helpful this week, as this week's topic is all about exploring opportunities and challenges in expanding a business internationally, including cultural differences and market dynamics. As always, I am James Brown of James Brown Voice, your voiceover with soul. I'm here with my wonderful co-host Sondra.
Hey, happy Monday. Happy Monday. I'm excited about this topic. This is something that I have been working on for the last year. So super excited to talk about how to do this and lessons we've learned. Love it. Love it.
Absolutely. And we have, I mean, the thing is, of course, is we're doing this on Zoom anyway, and I don't know exactly how many countries do we have here today? We've got Britain, we've got South Africa, we've got the United States. Anywhere else? Dubai, got the UAE, 4, and that's only in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's in the 7 of us here, so that's pretty good, as well as the people watching on YouTube. Do put in the comments where you're coming in from, please, guys, so we can know exactly sort of how global we are right here. This is very interesting, and it just shows that we're all here to attempt to find out a little bit more about what we can do to improve our businesses, and that does mean connecting with the global community. My business is all international. I work with countries from all around the world because I can do it from here in my booth, and it's a digital product. And so things like global networking and global interaction have proved really, really useful for me in expanding my client, customer, and business relationships. It's been vital, really. So huge for voiceover. What do people think? How have global opportunities or global interests affected your business? Have they affected it? Was it something you'd like to expand more into? Let's have some hands up, boys and girls. Niki Marshall, first up.
That's me. I thought I would just, step out there right now. Yeah, global, absolutely. I am very global now. And more so, I've been working virtually since 2010, but I think a lot of people can agree that since the pandemic, and Zoom becoming just the sort of second nature thing that we all do now, it's just opened up so much more opportunities, especially for myself. I've literally been living in Dubai 9 months, 10 months now. And, I had a physical business in South Africa and of course couldn't do it there. And so now I network globally, and I'm a connector, and I'm getting paid for it. And I wouldn't be able to do that. I wouldn't have a business. I wouldn't have anything to do if I didn't have the opportunities that just networking globally has given. And what I've noticed is that the move to Dubai, or just outside of our norm, can I put it that way, just outside of our norm? Because I mean, I haven't been overseas. I haven't been out of South Africa since 1999. So I mean, it's not like I'm not like a major traveler or anything like that. But it just expanded, and meeting so many people from all different places, virtually and in person, has really expanded my mindset. And then chatting to friends of mine in Johannesburg or Cape Town, because I'm in Joburg at the moment, and I realized how it's got to start with the mindset first. For me, it starts with the mindset first, the possibility of taking your business global. Because whatever, if you can do your business on a computer and you have an internet connection, you can go global, essentially. I mean, I'm talking, obviously not in absolutes here, but you've got to have that mindset first. It's a case of start thinking globally and then act globally, but you can still stay local. I think in South Africa, we have that lovely saying, think global, act local, something like that. I remember that. It was always such a good saying, a good blurb. So that's really, for me, the easiest, not the easiest, it's simple, not easy, the simplest thing to do. You've got to get your mindset open to the possibilities that there are worldwide in whatever business or industry that you are in, or looking to get into, or looking to connect with. And then it just flows, because I mean, we all social media, and it's, that's my little spiel. I'm Niki Marshall. I don't have a business. I'm just me. I'm a global networker and connector based in Dubai. Thanks.
Love that, Niki. Yes, mindset. You have to be willing to think globally. And I think anybody can take their business globally, from the people that make, handmade things to people that provide services. So I agree. It's very much about the mindset. If you're not willing to think outside that box of your physical presence, is extremely important. And somebody who definitely thinks outside the box and definitely is a global entrepreneur, Miss Carolin.
Hey, Sondra, thank you so much. So I've had both experiences. I've had a business in one place, and now I've been a digital nomad for quite a while. And even before that, I was already working online. And what I've noticed is that it's just really different. You have to kind of think a bit differently, because when you're in one place, then you build up your network in that place. You get to know all the people around you and everything, But then when you take your businesses onto the global level, you need to have some kind of community as well, because you need your network. You need, you need your business community, your business network. And so then you have to think about, how do you do that on a global scale? How do you build community on a global scale? And it's one of the things we're doing here, right? Is building community on a global scale. But that's really something I found is super, super important, because otherwise you're just all over the place, and you don't know how how can you make everything work on a global scale? There's so much competition out there, so many people. How do you reach everyone? It's not possible. You need to have that network, and then the network can help you find the connections that you need. So I think really go for a community, build relationships. I don't mean network in the sense of using people. I mean network in the sense of building relationships and building community, and then having fruitful exchanges within that community. Oh, sorry, I'm Carolin Zeitler from Women Who Impact.
Thanks, Carolin. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. It's I think when you are doing networking meetings, and if you're trying to expand your connections like that, it often is not necessarily even the person that you're speaking to, or even the person you're connecting yourself with one-on-one. It can be the people that they know. And that's how you broaden your net relatively quickly, and you get perhaps more exposure to these markets that you may know very little about. Then I guess it's up to us to find out about those people and about those cultures and demographics that we may not necessarily be spending a lot of our time with normally, and that's part of growing, I think, as hopefully as a business person. and finding relationships outside of your own, perhaps your own comfort zone that might prove to be very useful and very lucrative. And that expansion of your mind and those possibilities is certainly something that comes with is a responsibility, I think, of you, which comes with the growth in your own social network and business network. Hendrik,
thank you very much, sir. So we are in the digital sort of market and providing a digital product, and I think that makes us makes it a little bit easier to penetrate globally than if you were a brick and mortar store in the corner and trying to expand your hardware store to Dubai and to the rest of the world. That might take a bit more doing. Because we work on the internet and online, it of course makes it very accessible. And our plans really are to pivot much more into the podcast training sphere. And we're developing online training modules now, and we're going to record soon, doing test recording tomorrow. So all these things are happening as we expand in phase 2 of our operations and testing. And that is a product that we do want to bring to the rest of the world and not just to South Africans. But of course, there's a cultural challenge because I speak in a certain way. I have a certain accent. I don't have the American accent. We have certain ways of speaking and referring to things that are normal to us, which the rest of the world don't quite grasp. So those things are kind of important to understand. But at the same time, I think when we think about global, we think about, oh, this huge thing. But this is global, what we're doing right here. This is exactly what we're talking about. And what is it about? Relationships. Something I'm not really good at and which I really have to work very hard at over the next few years is building solid relationships, because that's, from my understanding of how entrepreneurship works, how it all hangs together. So I'm also very quick on the draw. So when you talk about, what are these challenges, I very quickly go and Google these things, and I find, especially for digital technologies, the top 3 challenges are is that it's user acquisition strategies. How you get a client here in South Africa might be different to how you get one in China. We might not be on the same platforms and those sort of things. The organizational structure, when I start working globally, how do I organize myself for that, I suppose. And also the business environment's different here in South Africa to wherever you travel in the world, and the needs are different. So I suppose those challenges can only be overcome if you start locally and test wherever you expand your brand and your service offering or your product to. Test it, make sure it works in the local market, and then expand bit by bit, test where you go. And make the necessary adjustments, I'm sure. And I'm sure feedback's always the most important thing. The more people tell you how terrible you are, the more you can improve. That's my 2 cents. I'm Hendrik from Baird Media. We help podcasters get going.
Love it, Hendrix. I have to chuckle. Yeah, we do have to learn from what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong. So, and I do think, like you said, that there are definitely global challenges as far as how you present your services and stuff. So what works for like the US versus Africa and so forth. I know I have definitely learned a ton by being in this community about global and about different places, because I guess I was sheltered in my little world over here. And so I have learned so much, and I'm grateful for that, because I think that helps me be a better person and definitely a better entrepreneur to apply those and be like, okay, this is what your guys' challenges are versus my challenges versus somebody else's challenges. So I think that's extremely important. Niki, what challenges do you have working globally?
I don't have any, except that no one wants to talk to me anymore. No, I actually made some notes while people were talking, and one of the things that was the cultural thing, but I'm just going to stick to my little script here because otherwise. So networking globally, it's not at all different to actually the traditional networking that we've or most of us have been doing for the last, I don't know how long. And so it's important to actually just remember those rules, the golden rules. In other words, selling through your network, not to your network, and the follow-ups. The fortune really is, it's such a cliche, but it's a cliche for a reason, because it's true. The fortune is in the follow-up, and the relationship, for me, networking is the networthing of it. And that is found in the one-to-one. So having a platform like this is fantastic, because that's where you are exposed and you meet people, but it's the one-to-ones, it's the after or outside of the main group relationship building, and that you get to know people. Myself personally, I like to get to know people on a personal level. If I want to know what their business is, I just go onto their LinkedIn. So when I have, but that's the nature of my business, I need to know who people are, and because it's not always just about their business. If I want to connect them with someone, or if I have an idea of maybe a possible collaboration or opportunity there between people, then if I know them personally and I've gotten to know them on a personal level, and I know their business obviously as well, then those things trigger a lot more. What has come up for me with the global networking is the cultural differences, and they can be very, very small ones, but they can actually make a difference. So, for example, there are words and phrases that mean different things in different countries, and they can be very insulting in one country, and they can be not, and they're a joke in another country. I'm not going to do the one major example. I'll tell you all after but for this, I've got another example. So, for example, when someone calls me dear, when they say, "Hi dear, how are you?" It's actually a very patronizing thing for me. For my where I grew up, my family, that's sort of northeast English, Benoni sort of people. Whereas it's actually a term of endearment in most cultures, and especially it's used a lot, I know, with people who English is not their first language. So because it's seen as a nice thing, but it's actually, it irritates me, and it actually really but I know it's not meant like that, so I'm never going to say anything. Okay, I have now, but I mean, whatever. Moving on. The other thing the other main thing that I've really come across is when you're working globally and when you start networking and with people in different countries, is the currency differences. So, for example, we know, coming from South Africa, our rand is very weak against the rand, against the dollar, the pound, the dirham. And what is affordable in Dubai or in the UK or in the States, for example, or in Europe with the euro, is completely out of everybody or most people's reach in South Africa, for example, and other, like the Philippines, and exactly, I can see those fingers going there, Pete, and it's true. It's like there's nothing there, we don't have it, and but that doesn't mean to say that they don't deserve your services or whatever it is. So it's just something to think about, that you must adjust your offering maybe sometimes differently depending on the market and their exchange ratey, blah blah, fish pasting. Yeah, that's me again. I've already been, so
I think that, again, interesting points from Niki, especially the different currencies. Certainly, I've had people contact me, and I had people contact me from the subcontinent quite a bit, because they are using English, but they want to make sure that their English is clear enough, I suppose, to appeal to a Western audience. And often there is a big discrepancy in what they're able to pay, and unfortunately it often doesn't work, because my expenses stay the same, and I'd love to be able to adjust my offering, but the amount of work is the same as well, and therefore it's very, very difficult to do. If there's a solution to that, then I'm all ears. I haven't found it in my own dealings as yet, with certainly with some parts of the world, but absolutely it's the dear thing is interesting. I get that in a lot of proposals as well, and I think you just sort of, you're right, I can understand what you're a bit like, sort of, I don't know you, who it is, but it is somebody 99% of the time sort of translating from their first language to their second, perhaps. And I don't think it's ever done with any ill intent or any patronizing intent. And it's just something that you kind of just go, all right. And see if you can get onto it from that. Nestene and Peter, under the Somerville moniker this evening, welcome. How are you two?
James, dear, you're doing amazing.
Why, thank you, darling.
Don't call me darling. Be able to pick the markets that we function in, the clients that we serve, and have that global community and definitely a global business. So kudos to James and Sondra for picking this amazing topic. I have one tip that I'll drop, and then I have a whole lot of questions. And Niki, I'm so on the same page with you. There's very few things that I can't stand. Stupid people is one of them. And then the second one is if someone calls me dear. I don't know why. Like, I understand, like a lot of time it's like very normal for those people, like a lot of different cultures, but like it's still, and you let it go like immediately, like I won't say anything, but it's still like, but I guess we come from the same culture, that's why. So that is very interesting. Also, Scottish people are very often very like difficult to understand. Like, I love listening to them. They are amazing. Like Rona, but I still don't know if she's from Scotland or Ireland. She's from Scotland. But I keep doing that as well. That is also unacceptable because they will legit like hate you if you get that wrong. But I keep getting that wrong.
Rona loves you.
Just don't say that they're English. It's much better.
No.
You know,
Then they'll.
yeah, then they might get really upset.
I love you too, Rona from Scotland. But they have the best words as well. So that is something that's also very cool. So whenever Rona comes to like the coffee shop show or the other one, the referral circle, like she always teaches me new words. Like I remember the one was gubbed. She was like, I was so gubbed. And I can't remember what it means, but it was a new word that I learned, which was very interesting. Anyway, moving on from there. So my tip is if you have a global entrepreneurship like business, one of the challenges that I've always had was like finding a way to keep my money in the denomination that I wanted in. Because I don't think PayPal is that secure to keep your dollars in, to be honest. Once I lost access to my PayPal account because of some weird like policy reason on their side, and that's when I decided, no, PayPal is good for receiving money, but keeping it in there, I don't think that's the best idea. Also, you don't earn any interest or dividends, so just take it out of there. I found this new platform, easyequities.co.za. And they're not paying me yet, but they should, because I keep telling everyone about it. And literally you can go on there and you can invest in Rand on the JSE stock exchange. You can invest in pounds on the, whatever you call the James stock exchange. You can invest in dollars on the US stock exchange. And I think you can do Australian dollars and all it's very cool. They have like the top 6 or something currencies that you can keep your money in. So if you're worried about the value of your money depreciating or inflation getting you or whatever, you just want to diversify because you want less risk, like that's an awesome platform to check out. It's very, very cool. Also, what's cool is they don't have any platform fees, so it doesn't eat up your dividends and so on. So yeah, that's just the interesting. And you don't pay like money to open like a US bank account. Like there's nothing. I don't know how they get around that, but it's very cool. So that's my tip. My question is, how do you get UK customers?
You don't call them dear.
Don't call them dear. Let them
You
call you dear.
Don't, because they're also tight. They're also tight. You're never going to get a UK one, but they know people who have money outside of the UK. I'm just saying.
That is funny. Because
I
for
don't know how to
my
react to this. It's like it's like 90% of my business. Perhaps unsurprisingly. How does one get UK customers?
Look the way you
Yes.
just
like
James.
the
Have-
US, the
Oh,
US,
US.
no, US customers, they kind of, some of them are very hard to talk to and you almost say goodbye like immediately. And then some of them are like really easy to talk to,
Mhm.
you know, and we kind of got into the US market. I think Australia we would actually get into if we were awake at the same time. But UK and Europe has been, for some reason, just one of those countries where I feel like you have to be English to get into the English market. Like they
UK
have
and
like
Europe, or just the UK?
Europe and the UK. Like
Europe
I
and the
feel like
UK.
they feed off of each other's energy, but for different reasons.
Yeah,
So that's
we have
my
we have
question.
history with Europe a little bit. We're just all best mates.
What is it that I have to learn, or the mannerisms I have to adopt, or the words I have to say, so that
Fancy a scone.
English
Sorry, a scone.
so that English people actually take me seriously enough to become customers. Like I feel
You
like
have
we
to be
need
an
that.
ass. If you talk like a complete ponce, pretend you're from Santon.
Oh God. Oh, this is taking
I'm
a
a
turn.
frozen.
So this is going to
We
be
should.
interesting.
I will
Pretend you're from
talk to
Santon.
you, Nestene, about
Mm.
about the UK markets. Even though I don't have,
I'll also
I don't
talk to
have
you,
all that, I do
Nessie.
have
Obviously.
some of it. And I think you don't need to be an ass. In all honesty, I think you need to just make sure that you're speaking our language, and I don't think you can do that. I think you can do that if you're just being a nice person and you're adding value. I don't see any reason why you would have any problem talking to anyone from the UK. It's not like we're all here sort of with our Victorian, you know. I think you'd be fine. In all honesty,
Lying.
I wonder if there's like if there's just there might be something that's triggering you or making you nervous, because I can't see it. You've never put me off, obviously. So.
Oh, James.
That was sweet.
And you are our only person from the UK.
I can't be. Am I the only person from the UK?
Wait, I think Ritchie is US.
I'm English.
Yeah.
UK. I'm based in the UK too.
I'm British.
Niki has exactly the same accent as me, so you
That's
can
why I
say,
can
you
insult.
can tell that.
That's why I can insult the British, because I.
Sounds like she could be my neighbour.
Okay, James, we went in all different directions.
I know we did. I'm sorry. I mean, it's like massive
I'm a realist.
But that's there you go. There's some global business being done right here live.
Live on how you do it. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Should we move back onto topic? Thank you, Sondra, for dragging
yes.
us back.
Miss Sascha, help reel us in. How are you? I know you do global, and how is that working for you?
Depends on who you're working with, and how they run their business. So if you're working with someone who, well, in my line of business, I'm an online business manager. So if I'm working with a business owner who's really, really controlling in their business and needs you to be in contact all the time, then working with someone with a 9-hour time zone difference is not going to work for you. But if the business owner is someone who's happy to check in once a day, and you get on with your work and your work gets done and you're able to support them, then that has worked for me. And I've had a client where we have had a 9-hour time zone difference. It also helped that she actually was a night owl and worked early hours of the morning. And that was mid to late morning for me. So we would actually meet up a lot more frequently than if she kept traditional business hours. The other thing I find is that building trust globally and remotely is a lot harder than in person and takes longer. And that's something you have to work harder at. And then the other thing is enforcing contracts when you don't live in the same country. I have not worked my way around that one yet, but that is a little bit trickier because your contract is based in your country of residence, and to apply that to someone else who's living in a different country, that can be problematic. But apart from the challenges, the benefits far outweigh the challenges of working globally. And I mean, for someone who's based in South Africa, for me, it is a way to increase my revenue because, as Niki said, the South African rand is not strong against any of the currencies, but currently that is an advantage if you have an international client, because the exchange rate then works in the opposite direction. You get paid a better rate currently because our currency is so weak against the exchange. But for me, I found it's opened up my horizons. It's increased the scalability of my business. Going global has been what has brought growth to my business. I'm Sascha from Perfectly Assisted, and I'm an online business manager.
I love that. I love that, Sascha. The time zone thing. When I started my business, my second client was in Morocco. So she was going to bed as I was getting up. So we made it work. That was 4 years ago, and we still work together on and off. She moved back to the States, so it makes it a little bit easier. But yeah, the contract thing, I think that has to do with relationships. If you don't have a relationship built with your client, then that trust. Because even in the US, state to state, the laws are different. So it's based out of where you're registered is what laws you go by in the US. So you have to specifically put per Michigan law, like it has to be very specific to that. So that definitely, I think it's more of a trust thing. Of course, like you said, you can't enforce something globally, maybe. I haven't run into that yet either, so I don't know if that's an issue. But yeah, I love that. It's about trust. And yes, you can do international clients in crazy time zones if people are willing to let you work on your hours and still meet halfway in the middle or something. So definitely have run into that too. The other day I was like, it's like midnight where you're at, and they're just like, yep, this is when I work. I'm like, okay. Like, you're up. That's
just
cool.
very quickly there. I just want to say something quickly about when I was working as a copywriter, it was very, very, very common for people to ask for, well, actually almost 100% of the fee in advance. And then, of course, that takes any problem of that out of the equation. You may well find that people will not do that, but I do that, especially if I have not had a business dealing with a client, first of all, and they're not in the UK. I have done that before. So I understand it's very difficult. It can be hard, and it's all that awkward ask, but at the end of the day, if they know you're going to be providing value, a lot of people will agree to that. So and it's very common in certain industries. It may not be so common in your industry, Sascha, I don't know, but it is not unheard of in order to do that. And then, of course, you take the problem away.
Yeah, I know. Yes, our retainers. So they pay a retainer up front. It's paid and done with. Is also another good one to do. 50% up front. Yeah, if I don't know somebody, then I definitely change how I do my contract and pay versus somebody I know. So I've actually been more burnt with people I've known than I have with people I don't know, unfortunately. Miss Carolin, how do you run into the same issues?
So I wanted to quickly answer to some of the things that Sascha said. So first of all, when you're working internationally, what you can do is in your contract, you can include a clause that says that that any problems are going to be applicable, like sorted out in this and that court. I don't know how it's in legalese because I'm not really into legalese, but there's, you can specify the court in which the problems have to be solved. I used to do that when I was in Doha, and I didn't want to have to deal with it in Doha because in Doha, you basically don't have a proper legal system. It doesn't really work for you if you don't speak Arabic. So we would have it arbitrated somewhere else if there was a problem. So that is one option. The other option is go through an agency. Like I've done a lot of work through Upwork, for example, which works like an agency, and then they take care of your payments coming. Like they make sure that you get paid. So that's another option that I've found can work very well when you're working globally. And in terms of the time difference, so what's worked really well for me is that my clients, they kind of live vicariously through me. So even when it's a 12-hour time difference, they're like, oh, where are you now? And they're so excited about all the places I go and wherever I travel, and they always looking at what's behind me, and they're like, oh, where are you now? It looks like you're in the jungle, And so they're fine with being a bit flexible about the timings, because it gives them this opportunity of living vicariously through me with all my travels, and I have a lot of fun with that. And finally, I just wanted to answer Nestene's question for Europe. I haven't spent that much time in the UK, even though I am a citizen. I know I don't sound like it, but I can speak for more of Europe. Is like they just don't have the same attitude to like services, like a lot of services, so it's a very different, like there's not as much willingness to pay for coaching and consulting and things like that. The European attitude is much more like, I can do it myself, and if I can't do it myself, I'll ask my friend and they'll do it for free, kind of thing. There's a lot less willingness to hire professionals to do things. In the US, it's like a given that you will hire professionals to do things, but it's in Europe, it's a lot less of a culture. So you also have to take that into consideration, that sometimes it's just not the culture to do it like that, to find those kind of.
Is an interesting point. Certainly, when you say about the US, I do think that's right. I think the coaching, maybe it comes from the seeing some of the really big learning providers, people, I guess, like Tony Robbins 20-25 years ago, and that kind of service for sort of improving your life by hiring someone to help you like that. I do think that's an American idea which has taken more of a bit more time to cross the pond, and there may still be some resistance to that, of course, and people, of course, are also wanting to make sure that they get their money's worth, and it is a bit more difficult to make people put their hands in their pocket. Sorry, Ritchie, I'm going to come to you if that's all right, Niki, because Ritchie hasn't spoken all right today. How are you, mate?
Sure. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, James. Yeah, pretty good. I just wanted to add in just a 2 cents to to this interesting topic, and plenty of great points that have actually been raised regarding this. But I just want to turn it around a little bit, because for the most part, what I'm hearing is just more about the challenges. It's somewhat of the negativity to what this has actually done, as opposed to what this has actually opened up. In the case of avenues, like in my case now, for the most part, most of my business is pretty much online. Most of my clients are pretty much spread all over the world. On the corporate side as well, I don't go into the office right now, which is a positive. So I guess the thing about it is focusing too much on the negatives or the challenges that we're facing. It's easy to have, I think Niki mentioned earlier about mindset, to have those limiting beliefs kind of build up, right? And I think the way we should look at it more is about solving the problem. As entrepreneurs, we're trying to solve a problem. So regardless where somebody's at, right? If they have that if they have that pain, the need to have that resolved, wherever you are based, wherever you're located, they're going to reach out for that. So long as you can actually solve it, you can prove it that it can actually solve that particular problem. And I think that's what is key right here. At the same time, we need to appreciate that we cannot help everybody, and we're not for everybody. Somebody once said, you can have the most juiciest, best strawberries in the world, but you will find somebody who hates strawberries, right? So I think that's something we have to be aware of. of that fact that at times it's just that we're just not for everybody. We're just not the right fit for everybody. But at the same time, we should not have those limiting beliefs because somebody's located elsewhere or in a certain locality, then we're not sort of positioned to actually help them bridge that particular gap or that particular pain that they're facing at that moment in time. There's billions of people in the world right now. And it's more about, yes, we can only do but reach out. And those who actually need our help, they're going to raise their hands. I think that's just my sort of my just view on that particular point. Oh, by the way, I'm Ritchie. I'm Ritchie. I help over 30s achieve physical and financial confidence efficiently.
I love that. I love that, Ritchie. Yes, people all over the world need services, but yes, not everybody's just for you. I think that's what I like about goal accountability services is that everybody has goals. Doesn't matter where you're located in the world, doesn't matter the barriers, as long as we communicate. And of course, you have to be coachable. That's like my other second thing. But my type of coaching isn't going to fit everybody's styles. Some people need a firmer hand. Some people need a positive mindset. Some people need a drill sergeant. Like there's just different ways that, especially in the coaching world, that works. And but yeah, and sometimes you have to try a couple of different ways before you find what works for you. So I love that. I love that. Yes. And I do love working with international people because then I find new ways to help people because everybody does things differently. So their action plan is going to be different than somebody based here or in Africa or in Europe or whatever. So it's unique to them. So that's something I love about that. I love that. All right, Miss Niki, we're going to let you come back in.
So this is my last few comments on a serious note. So first of all, just to sort of say with the UK thing, I am actually British, so I'm allowed to rip the British off. The reason I do know, though, that in the UK, they're having such a financial crisis there on the whole. I'm not talking specifics here, but there is major financial problems in the UK. People are struggling as much as we are here, and their cost of living is really, really high there as well. My folks are living there now. My sister and her partner are living there now. So I've got a real good sense of what's going on there at the moment. So it's not a case of, so I was being very flippant before, and I actually apologize a little bit about just a bit. But I know that there is a lot of, I've got quite a large network, a good few networks in the UK actually that I belong to, and I've gotten to know people really, really well in different sectors, and they really are struggling. But they are, when you get into to speak to the right people, again, people who know networking, like everybody here, who knows the value of networking and building those relationships, then it's a case of getting to know them and just sort of seeing if there's a collab that can be done, or whatever the case is, and those, once you get that foot in the door. So Nestene, actually, I'm saying to you, I would love to introduce you to some people. I really, really would. I've really made some lovely friends and good relationships there. I'm part of a platform called Go Connections. I'm actually launching the UAE Go Connections soon. And they're all just wonderful. And so I'd love to do that. So I've sent you a message already, so it's fine. So I just wanted to sort of say that I'm not completely bashing the Brits here, I have to, because, I've got family there and they're all grotty and horrible. But I've got good friends there too. The other thing is about the legal issue. One of the people that I've met, or a couple of the people I've met, but the main person I've met, her name's Kartika. She's based in Switzerland, and she is a global commercial and corporate lawyer. And what she basically does is that she drafts agreements, and she works with people who have clients in different countries and things like that. And she's a really good advisor. I never thought about that until I actually met her and started working in the global space. So that's, just having that kind of advice, or someone like that, to have that. I saw Sondra actually also mentioned that her go-to would be her state, am I right, courts there. And so depending on where your client is and where you're based and so on and so forth, with the legal thing. The currency story, I'm with you on that one, Nestene, as well. PayPal can be both a boon and not. And I'm hesitant to say, but I'm looking at the whole crypto space at the moment in certain ways. And it's because, again, I've been exposed to all this in Dubai, and I've made some good friends who are in that sort of space and blockchain and blah, blah, blah. I don't really understand it. I'm getting there. I'm not putting a thing in there but there's platforms that are coming out, there's apps coming out where you can actually link everything and you don't have to wait for days, and I don't know. So there's things that are being worked out there. So, technology and whatever. And then exactly what Carolin said as well, and I think everybody really was saying, is that we are never going to appeal to everyone. You can't please all the people all the time. I know for myself, I'm not everyone's cup of tea. I don't know why, because I think I'm adorable, but I actually love I love making up terms. And when I had my planner business in South Africa the last couple of years, before I moved to Dubai, I created this term called complementary competition, as in like-minded competition. So if there were people who didn't, because I physically designed planners and organizers and all that sort of thing, and if there were people who didn't want mine, I had people in South Africa who were making similar but slightly different, and I would pass them on, because at the end of the day, for me, that client is going to get what they want, and my industry is going to look good, and I'm going to look good because I pass them on. And it's not about, it's like with networking, it's not about getting everyone to sign on the dotted line and getting every piece of business. It's about sowing goodwill and sowing good seeds, basically. And I'm a farmer. I'm not a hunter. I've never been a hunter when it comes to sales and networking and all that sort of thing. So that's just my little take on it. And then, Rich, I have to tell you, I really do think that for the most part, what's been said here is being positive. There is a few obstacles, quite a lot of obstacles, but I know for myself personally, gosh, I would, if it wasn't having this kind of platform like that we are on now, I wouldn't have a business at all. I realize that, and I'm in the networking and connecting game. So my business is literally building relationships with people. And so the line between friendships and business relationships is very blurred. And I realized the other day is that all the relationships and friendships and whatever I built this last year, probably 5% of them I've met in person. And the rest of them have all been virtual and are still virtual. But that doesn't make a difference. It doesn't make it any less real to me. Whereas a couple of years ago, it would have, it would have been a case of, it's like a WhatsApp friend. It was, we didn't even have Zoom. And then, of course, the pandemic came in. So that's, for me, that has been priceless and amazing to have, and learning, as like what Sondra said as well, learning about people in different countries and, the different cultures and, sort of not taking myself too seriously. But knowing when to behave and when not to, and getting it wrong most of the time. But yeah, so I just wanted to say that it is, the limiting beliefs are there, but that's why we have platforms and networks and groups and tribes like this, is that we're able to be real and sort of say, well, this is this is how I'm feeling right now, and then other people will say, you don't have to feel that way, or try it like this, or so it's priceless for me, and that's where my networking comes in very much so. And Rich, I just want to say you've got a lovely voice too, but I've just got to say you've got a really nice voice. So yeah, not as nice as James, of course, or Jason. Nice. Anyway, that's me.
Thank you, Niki. Words of wisdom there. Couple of last final thoughts.
Yeah.
Are you Nestene now, dear?
I'm Nestene now.
Dear.
I love the topic. I love the space. And one of the reasons we created this space is because those were the problems we were looking, that we had to conquer those issues so that we could perform in a global space. But our solution to conquering those problems wasn't by creating a tool or it was by taking the right people and putting the right people, and it doesn't matter where they are in the world, putting the right people into one space so that they could build relationships with each other. And those relationships were the fix. So even though a lot of us in this space may not be doing business with each other, we may not be buying each other's products, but we are supporting each other. We are building each other. We're introducing each other to potential clients. So I think that this group in itself is literally the solution to actually doing business globally.
Yeah.
It seems to fix a lot of the problems, and it also connects you to a degree. Like for instance, when we had issues in another country, we just happened to know an attorney in that country because that attorney was part of our network. Can you imagine what it would be like if we had an attorney in every country as part of the network?
That's the goal.
Or an accountant in every country.
What did you say? She'll be there shortly.
She'll be there shortly. So it creates a powerful space when you know the right people and when you've actually built relationships with those people. Then a lot of these things that make international business a little bit more difficult become a whole lot more easier because you have the relationships to back it up. And I think that for me is what was interesting about this topic. The solution is right here, and it's been incredible.
Excellent topic. Love our business family so much. Also, me and Peter have a goal. We have to meet every single one of our business family members in person. So you are all on our hit list, okay? And I can't wait to meet you in person. Really, you light up my life. Thank you so much for sharing everything you've shared today. I have learned so much.
So much.
Very much.
Very much.
That's
Yes.
how you don't get UK customers. For those of you that were wondering. But you've been amazing. And thanks so much again to our hosts that came up with this excellent topic and that just hosts this show so beautifully together. You guys are absolutely, absolutely incredible. On that note, you all must have the best possible, most incredible, fantastical week further. And may all your wildest entrepreneurial dreams come true.